Hello, welcome back to Tropical Storms 101.
As you know, there was a cyclone which formed in Burma, now known as Myanmar, on the 27th of April 2008.
It was also a Category 4 hurricane.
Before we move on, for all of you storm bays who don't know how cyclones are formed, listen carefully.
Cyclone tends to form in 4 conditions, including forming over warm tropical water when sea temperatures are over 27 or 28 degrees Celsius.
At latitude greater than 5 north or south in tropical regions of severe air instability.
During summer, the water collects heat and
when the water temperatures exceed 27 or 28 degrees Celsius, large amounts of water will be evaporated, causing a risk of cyclone forming in the late summer or autumn.
This evaporation creates an upward movement of air resulting in low pressure and a tropical disturbance.
The tropical disturbance increases as more water is evaporated, it rises and condenses.
As more vapor condenses, it forms large thunderclouds and releases large amounts of energy, creating a tropical depression.
The tropical depression turns into a tropical storm and begins to spin, and
when wind speeds reach 120 kilometers per hour, the tropical storm is classed a hurricane, cyclone, or typhoon.
As you can see, this is the path of Cyclone Nargis. OMG, Aisha, we're so smart!
This is news, stay professional!
Well, anyway, as mentioned before, Cyclone Nargis has affected Myanmar on the 27th of April 2008 and has dissipated on the 3rd of May 2008.
That's right, Timothy. Not only that, but Cyclone Nargis has affected other areas as well as Bangladesh, Thailand, India, Sri Lanka, China, and Laos.
It was reported that on the 27th and 28th of April, the cyclone enhanced the southwest monsoon over Sri Lanka, which resulted in very heavy rain, flooding, and landslides.
The district of Ratnapura and Kegale were also the most affected. More than 3,000 families were displaced. Thousands of houses were flooded, with 21 reported destroyed. The rainfall left 4,500 people homeless, and more than 35,000 people were affected on the island.
Oh yeah, that's very scary.
I agree.
In India, there were extremely strong waves and gusty winds. The Indian Meteorological Department recommended fishermen not to sail during this time. It also lowered temperatures.
When Cyclone Nargis was expected to strike Bangladesh, officials asked farmers to finish farming rice crops since they were already recovering from a previous cyclone in the past.
Youch.
Now, let's talk about the primary hazards.
I agree, Yeshi boy. The storm surge resulted in salinization of agricultural lands and increased soil erosion and degradation, leading to production losses.
Food security has therefore become a major problem for the survivors, who have increasingly turned to subsistence fisheries, especially during the early recovery phase.
The storm surge also contaminated groundwater sources, affecting the quality and safety of drinking water.
Loss of income from natural resources as well as building materials for shelter signify that capacities of local community to cope with and respond to the cyclone's impact are significantly compromised, which makes them more vulnerable to the future disasters.
This increased vulnerability to natural hazards is compounded by underlying risk factors which exacerbate disaster impacts. These risks are driven by the prevailing environmental degradation in the region.
Electricity lines were also destroyed, causing diseases to be released and spread around the country.
Sewage systems also leaked, causing the water to be polluted, and when the water is evaporated, it will rain acidic rain.
Youch. Now, let's talk about the secondary effects.
Well, sadly, many animals died from lack of food, shelter, and water.
The cyclone was worth $10 billion. Lots of workplaces were damaged and destroyed, which meant no jobs.
Water pipes and electricity lines were destroyed that day, which meant people had to survive 4 days without electricity and clean water.
Which meant people had no choice but to drink the polluted water to survive, which spreaded diseases.
The lack of transport resulted in a shortage of medicine, and soon people started to die.
Luckily, many different countries such as Italy, Thailand, the United States, and United Kingdom helped the situation by providing money.
Well, it's safe to say that Cyclone Nargis was the worst natural disaster in the history of Myanmar.
You're right, Kimo. And that's it for today's newscast.
Don't forget to tune in later. Next time we'll be discussing Hurricane Katrina.
Bye, Storm Bays!